It's here. It's finally here. Today I filmed the eye brushes 101 technique. Still don't know what I'm gonna call this. By the time it comes out, I'll think of a name. But this is how I use my eyeshadow brushes, and this is how I blend, how I hold them. Basically just brushes 101. I hope you guys enjoyed this tutorial. It was really fun to make. Keep watching if you wanna see how and what I use on my eyeballs. All right, guys, let's go ahead and get started on eye brushes and blending 101. So the first thing we're gonna do is we're gonna start by priming our eyes. I'm gonna use my P. Louise eyeshadow base that I use all of the time. And the way I like to apply this is kind of fun. I just put a tiny little speck on the back of my hand and I grab a fluffy brush. Now this one doesn't have a name, but most of us have a very fluffy brush. When I apply an eyeshadow base, I like to use a really fluffy one because it's going to diffuse and blend.
Can you hold it up for a second?
Which one?
The fluffy brush.
Oh, fluffy brush coming in.
And then I'm going to zoom in.
So he's nice and fluffy. Like I said, this one doesn't have a name, but it is a synthetic. So all you want is a synthetic fluffy brush. I believe this is the only brush I'm going to use today that doesn't have a name. So we're just going to tap this on, and I like to start at the lash line and start to blend this up to the brow bone. So I'm going to be using, I think this is my favorite neutral palette ever, and that says a lot. But we're not focusing on the palette, but real fast, this is the Dose of Colors Baked Browns. I'll list it below. So when I'm doing just my go-to eye, I like to start with a fluffy brush. Now this right here, that has the cat hair on it, this is a Smith 232. I think I use this one all of the time, and all of these brushes will be listed below as well. So I use this one very frequent, and I love to grab this one when I'm in a hurry, and I'm gonna show you guys even how I hold it in this video. So we're gonna start with this bone color shadow. This is one of the reasons I love this palette. This has every color that I'm gonna need for this look. And I'm going to start. Now I want you to see how I'm holding this. Can we get a shot of that? I'm holding this. How do I hold this? I kind of hold it, I guess, like a pencil, but I'm also holding it on the very far in. Are we in focus here? I'm gonna hold it still for a second. I hold it very far back here because this is gonna give us the lightest touch. The more I choke up on a brush here, y'all like that baseball reference? The more I choke up on the brush here though, the more intense the shadow is gonna be. But for right now, we just want a very soft, fluffing motion. So we're gonna hold it very far back, and I'm gonna start on the brow bone and kind of bring this lightly into the crease. Now, if you'll notice, I'm also doing small circular motions. So it's just gonna help diffuse and set our eyeshadow base, and we're really just gonna focus on the brow bone. I'm gonna pat and then swirl it through the crease. Again, see how far we're holding this back here. Can we just get maybe a shot of my hand holding it? Kind of like this. Creepy Nosferatu fingers. And then like this. Now we're going to grab these two shades and use the same brush and same technique. Notice how I did that. Tap off any excess, and we're going to start to build our transition shade. Same exact technique. We're not going to go into any detailing yet. And we're just fluffing this and warming up the crease. Still holding the brush very far back to give us the lightest application and really diffuse the color. Now I'm going to take a MAC 217S. I'm absolutely loving this brush. This is the synthetic from them, and I wasn't sure I'd like it, but I really do. We're gonna go into this shade now. And now we're gonna hold the brush a little higher. This is gonna give us a little more control. Make sure our eyeshadow, let me tell you this as well. I just dip my brush right into here, right on the top of the brush. So you can kind of see that. Still gonna hit it, knock off any excess. And I'm holding the brush, like I said, a little higher now. We need it to be a little more contoured in a sense through here. So since we hold it up higher, we're gonna have more control, and we're gonna be able to map out a crease. I'm loving this brush because it almost does the work for you, but it's still about where you hold it. I'm gonna pick up a little more of that same eyeshadow. Oops, wrong one. A little more of the same in the darker one. I always like to put the deepest shade. I like to darken it through here and then kind of blend it over here. If you notice, I haven't went into this and went darker over here. So we're gonna focus first on the outer part of the eye and then bring that shadow through here. And you'll see where I'm holding the brush. And if you notice, I kind of even turn my head. You get different angles that way, because if I just continue to look straight on, I won't be able to see everything. For right now, we're just going to get this shape. And notice I just keep going back and forth. I haven't picked up any more eyeshadow, and even though we didn't technically apply eyeshadow over here, it's already starting to darken because you're moving around that little bit of eyeshadow. Just that little bit can really do wonders, and that way you won't be over blending or have too much eyeshadow and it become a muddy mess. So we're gonna pick it back up one more time, tap it, and start to build. Okay, we're grabbing another brush. I know this seems excessive, but I promise if you're looking for that just blended, really clean eye look, it really does take a few brushes and brush technique. So now I'm grabbing the Smith 250. It's a little bit tinier, and it just fits in here really beautifully. I'm going to go back into this shade right here. Just barely touch it. I need an up close mirror because I'm having a rough time here. This one's less dirty. Now I'm gonna start on the inner part, and I'm not touching the crease, but I'm diffusing the very top of the crease with this brush. So we really wanna soften that and make sure it's very blended and gradient. And make sure we don't just have like a harsh line. Again, you'll see how far I'm holding this out. A lot of times I do see people try and do this, and this isn't gonna do anything for you. It's honestly gonna make your hand cramp. It's not gonna do it. You're gonna have too much pressure. It's gonna mess up, even move the eyeshadow too much. So if you hold it just like this, you're just going to move around the correct amount of eyeshadow. Sometimes I'll just do this with nothing on the brush, but I still wanted it to be a little more diffused. If you can see, like, that's already a beautiful blend. We have the nice definition in here without having to get concealer and cut out a crease, because that's a whole nother animal, but I'll show you guys what we're gonna do for that today too. But you could honestly just put the cream colored shadow on your lid here and be good to go, or even add a shimmer. But for right now, small circular motions and just diffuse. Now I'm going to show you the quickest way to carve out your crease. I'm not going to do an insane carved out crease, but I'm just going to kind of clean up underneath here. And this will kind of give you guidelines to how to do a very intense one later on. But for right now, I'm going to start with honestly just a little touch of my P. Louise eyeshadow base. I use the shade Rumor 0.5. It works perfectly. And you could use concealer, but there's just something about the texture of this that just works insanely beautiful for cutting your crease. Now this is a BH Cosmetics number 9 brush from the Rose Gold set. I do know that. But honestly, I feel so many of you just have a very flat and tiny little concealer brush somewhere. So if you guys can just like pause this, look at it, and then run to your brushes really fast, you will have it somewhere. So I'm gonna start, and this is what I always do. First, you just remove all the cat hair that your cats just plant in your makeup brushes all the time. And then I'll kind of just do a line right down the middle, just to give me a guideline. And then I will start to work this through. Now it doesn't have to stay extremely white. It's not going to, and that's okay. And like I said, we're not just doing a complete wild cut crease, but I wanted to show you the technique. So I like to start and just kind of create a larger lid space. Do you guys notice how when I just open my eye and just let it sit there, I have this right here? And most of you would think, let me just carve to right here. No, we're gonna bring that up so much higher, and this is even gonna help you with hooded eyes. I feel like I always get asked that, and that's all it is. It's just about bringing your lid space up higher. Now we're just gonna take it over through here. I'm still gonna bring it up higher. I know, right? It's insane. Trust me, it's gonna look incredible in just a second. Good question. So since we're doing something that takes a little more pressure, I'm holding the brush up much higher because I need more pressure. So back here, less pressure, up here, more pressure. So I need a whole lot. I'm still holding it this way. I feel like I always hold them like this. It just helps just stability. So very carefully line this. It's not as scary as it looks. It's actually very easy. And I feel like that's all I'm gonna do because I really don't want like a perfect cut crease because we're just gonna add a matte shadow on top of this, I think. So just for showing you guys technique, I'm going to go ahead and do a shimmery lid color. This is the shade OK from ColourPop, and I know you're thinking she's using her finger. I thought this was a brush tutorial. We're going to use a brush, but I feel like when you use your finger first, it just really helps move the product around and it kind of makes it easier. So first we're gonna do this. And then in just a second, we're gonna grab our brush. Now I'm using my favorite lid brush ever. I swear this mimics a fingertip. So this is the Sigma E57. And since we're doing something a little more intense and we need more pressure, I'm gonna be holding the brush up higher, you guys. Watch this. And it just helps. It just fits in here perfectly. It just presses the eyeshadow on. It works so amazing with the Super Shock shadows. This is a ColourPop Super Shock that I'm using on my lid. And we're gonna bring it all the way over. And it just kind of helps keep your lid space clean and it keeps the crease very cut. It's incredible. Again, this is how I'm gonna hold it. This is where I'm gonna hold it. So you guys can see it's a very flat brush, short and rounded. And I'm just tapping and I kind of start at the top of the lid and then I pull it down. So tap, pull, and then I just kind of do it really fast. And there you go, your lid is done. So easy. I do have a wing liner tutorial, you guys. I'm gonna link that below, but for right now I'm just gonna throw this wing on really fast and be right back. I feel like this is the #1 question I get, is how I get my inner corner highlight to show up so well. So here's what I do. You guys know this is ColourPop Tassel. This is the #1 I get asked, how do you get tassel to show up? So I'm using a MAC 228 original. I believe it's discontinued, but the 228 synthetic will do almost as good. So if you guys, what?
You lost your original.
I found it.
Oh, praise God.
Praise God. Oh, haven't you
That was a
noticed?
bad week.
I've been a nice girl. Didn't you wonder why?
Yeah.
Back to teaching. So I'm just gonna go in here and I actually go over it quite a few times, guys. I pick it up. You guys see how much is on there? Quite a bit. My brush is not wet. And then what I do, everybody get ready. Notice that I'm gonna hold the brush up a little higher. Remember, we need more pressure. So when you need more pressure and you need to be more aggressive, just go up higher. So what I do is I tap. Notice how that's already pretty intense. We're gonna tap, 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 and then I'm going to start to feather it up this way, and then I kind of just do small circular motions. Bring it up, and then I bring it down. Then I'll even wipe my brush on the back of my hand, and then I just really feather out and soften the outer edges. I'm not gonna touch the middle. We still want that to be very intense. I'm gonna start to hold the brush farther out because I need a little bit lighter touch now to feather. When you think feather, hold it out. Circular motions, blend. I'm gonna pick up a little bit more. Go right into the center. That's really gonna build it up. Now look at that, blinding. That's all I do. It's very simple, but it's definitely about technique. I just grabbed a little more, same technique. And if you have fallout, just grab a fluffy brush. And because of the way I do apply it so aggressively, that's my favorite word for eyeshadow, who knew? I do have a little bit of fallout. I'm gonna do the other eye. Remember, initially, hold it up. Hold your brush up higher. Look at that, it's like a diamond. Start to blend it up, pick up more product. Tap it in the center, wipe it off, and circular motions all around where we just did. That's all it is. And we're almost done with our technique. I'm gonna go into these two shades. Now I am using a MAC 228S. Always dust it off. I always tippy tap this thing, tippy tap. Now I'm gonna go underneath here. I like mixing these two shades because it kind of softens the dark brown. And I also love this brush because it fits underneath your eye so perfectly. And we're gonna diffuse that. I'm gonna pick up a little bit more, both shades. Tap. Notice that I'm holding it very far out. I feel like a lot of times we feel like when we're trying to make an eyeshadow pigmented, or we're trying to even create the crease, we just really get aggressive and we're like, no, we need to hold it up and we need a ton of eyeshadow on here, and you really don't. You need to really hold it far out. Poke yourself in the eye. Don't do that, please. I'm gonna bring it over through here, and then I'm gonna start just diffusing. Remember, you'll always see that I start heavily on the outer part because it's okay to have it a little bit deeper over here to start with, because it's just gonna give you that more cat eye look. But if we were to start over here and go very heavy, it's harder to blend it and to make it soft, because we can always deepen this. You can make this as deep as you want, but it's best to gradually build. Remember that little Smith 250 that we used earlier just to diffuse out the crease? We're gonna grab this shade now, tap it off, and I'm just gonna run it underneath here and just make it mimic what we have going on in our crease. Just soften this and diffuse any harsh edges and make sure we don't have any gaps. We never want gaps in the lash line. Still holding it out very far because we need a very light touch for this. At some point I'm gonna put on some lipstick and look normal again, but we'll see. Just finishing up everything. I think this needs this right here. That's what it needed. I like to take this Japanese fluffy concealer brush. I just use it completely dry. I don't even use it for concealer. And I'll just go over kind of everything and just make sure it's all blended, even through here, through here. I'll even take it lightly through the crease. Remember, very lightly. I just like it blends everything, and then I'll blend under here, dusting away any powder, and I just kind of just blend it all out. They were all blended, and that's how I do it. It only took me 2 days to show you all the brushes that I use, but it was worth it, wasn't it? It was a good time. Okay guys, this is the finished look. Nicely blended. It's looking good. We're all blended. I hope you guys enjoyed this. You guys have been asking this. I hope that this was in-depth enough. I feel like it was. It's really just about where you're holding the brush. Now, I'm sure most of you guys already have brushes, and you can just try this technique with the ones you have. You don't have to run out and buy these, but if you are looking for new brushes, these are my top favorites, and these are the ones that I use every single day. But this is really about the technique and even the tapping. So even if you have to watch this a couple times, definitely do, because you're gonna learn something new. I mean, I still do that. I'm still reading and still learning. But I hope you guys enjoyed this. Make sure you thumbs up and you subscribe, and we'll see you in the next video. Bye.